So my sister and I are close, and she visits often, and often brings her 4 kids: tween male, pre-tween female, preschool female, and toddler male. Her eldest loves comic books, and my boyfriend lets him read some of his collection. They aren't like vintage comic books. They're the big book versions you can get after a series of comics has been published and contains them all. Well, one time they came over, and my boyfriend was out. Her eldest asked if he could read some of the comics, and I said no since my boyfriend wasn't here. He didn't seem to care, but my sister pushed and said they were just comics. I again told her no. Well, at one point, I had to go out and grab something to make dinner for us. While I was gone, she told her son that I had changed my mind and he could go read some of the comics. He went into the room and started reading. When I got back, I asked where he was, and she told me he was reading comics. I was annoyed and told her I said no. She said he was always careful, and I told her that didn't matter and to go ask him to stop and come back down. She huffed, but I insisted, so she went upstairs to tell him. Soon after she went upstairs, I heard a scream and rushed upstairs. My boyfriend owns many comics, but he arguably owns a lot more of the spicy kind. So instead of grabbing a regular comic, he grabbed and read one of them. My sister was screaming and grabbed it from him, asking why I owned something like this when I knew that kids are often in this environment. I reminded her that 2 adult men lived here with no kids. She said it didn't matter and insinuated that my boyfriend had been letting her son read these kinds of things, which is not true. She tore out some of the pages and told me she was leaving. I told her she'd have to pay to replace the book, but she refused and left. She's now texting me that I need to apologize for traumatizing her child. I told her it's her fault, and I told her no multiple times. But now our mother's gotten involved and told me I should have explained when I said no, that it was because my boyfriend owns comics not suitable for children, and that I was being rude by dismissing her. So, am I the idiot? A tween boy sneaking a spicy comic should surprise literally no one. You are not the idiot, and I would not back down an inch. Your mother's way out of line, undoubtedly because your sister lied to her about how things happened. By the way, your nephew isn't traumatized by the manga. If anything, he's traumatized by his mother's messed up reaction to the problem she created. Yes, 100% of what was actually traumatizing was the mom's reaction, which makes her doubly at fault. Seriously, she didn't accept a no, then got a consequence to which her reaction was actively vandalizing someone else's property while moving the goalpost of her patently absurd argument. Oh, and of course, she was fazed that you were being rude or dismissive after she ignored your objections constantly and even went behind your back. And now it's your fault that she let her kid do something unsupervised against which you objected? Funny how bad parents never seem to see when it's their fault. It always baffles me with these stories that people don't realize the angry text or phone calls they're getting from other people are almost guaranteed to have been based on lies by the other person. I'm second-guessing myself because family member X called and said why. Yeah, because they were lied to, LOL. Agree. Please hand me the string of pearls so I can clutch them after you. OP, your mother is 100% wrong. You said no, and that should have ended the argument right then and there. No one should have to explain a no for someone to respect it. And as far as the book goes, she 100% needs to pay to replace it. Whether she approves of it or not, it wasn't hers, and she damaged it. And that's what she gets for the assumption that all comics are for kids. I don't know how far you're willing to take this, but depending on the value of the vintage comic book, you could take this to small claims court to teach her a solid lesson. She messed around and found out, only to respond by messing around more? Wow, your sister's a piece of work. Hopefully she doesn't have any more kids. Maybe she uses your stuff to entertain her kids during visits. What normal, organized parents would do that in a home with no kids? She set herself up. I'd like to know if I'm wrong for not wanting to pay off my parents' court fines. Background: my sister's in prison. My parents also got into trouble because they helped her hide what she did and lied to the authorities. My dad served 90 days in prison and 20 months of probation. My mom served 180 days in prison and 17 months of probation. They also both have to pay a fine. Since they helped my sister and are considered her associates, they can't communicate with her while on probation or until their fines are paid. Once they pay the full amount of the fine, they can get a waiver. Right now, my sister can mail them letters because she has no restrictions on who she can communicate with. But my parents can't come right back. It can only be one way. Once my parents get the waiver, they can write her letters, talk to her on the phone once a week, and visit her every week. But this can't happen until the fines are paid. Since my sister got arrested, they could only visit her once before they got arrested too. Right now, my sister has no one visiting her. My parents are in debt for my sister's legal fees and their legal fees. They owed more on their house than it sold for. My mom and dad were teachers, but their convictions meant they lost their jobs and pensions and would never be able to work as teachers again. They went through bankruptcy, but not all debts were eliminated. They live in a small apartment, work low-wage jobs, and barely have any money. I didn't go to university, but I still took classes to get certified for my job, paramedic. I'm about to be done paying the loans I took for those classes. My parents don't know the exact date, but they know it's coming up. I was 18 when I signed the loan, but 17 when I started looking into it. So my mom and dad have an idea how long the payments would take. They could also estimate how much my rent and other bills are and would know that I make much more than my bills every month. My mom and dad have asked me to give them some money so they can pay off the fines and get the waiver. The amount they want is not all of the extra I have each month, so I can still save according to them. They also want my extra money from when I get paid 3 times a month instead of 2 times. If I don't do this, it'll be a long time before they can pay the fines. I know my parents are my only family besides my uncle, but my money is my own. Is that selfish like my parents claim? They want me to help them because I'm their daughter. I don't have a reason. I just don't want to. And they aren't happy and are big time angry at me. They want me to change my mind. Am I the idiot for not giving my mom and dad money to pay their fines? Not the idiot. Your parents are grown adults who knew better and got into this position. I would not give them any money because they'd probably keep expecting you to pay for things in the future. It's not selfish to keep the money you make. Keep it. Oh yeah, no doubt they'd turn around and need help for something else as soon as OP finished paying their fines. The fact that they believe they can decide exactly how much disposable income OP had is hilariously presumptuous of them. And the fact they think it should go to them is insanely entitled. Something tells me there was some serious enmeshment going on with the sister, and the parents are so codependent, they're freaking out being cut off from her. Seems to me sister might be the golden child. Parents were willing to become her accomplices to help her hide the crime, but have done nothing but beg OP for money so they can get back to their new normal. Seems awfully one-sided to me. OP, you worked hard from a young age, almost repaid your student loans, and didn't commit a crime. Do you want to live with this unfair drain on your life? Imagine how you'd be limited to a borderline poor life, and what will happen to your dreams of home ownership, companionship, and perhaps a family one day. In addition, I admire your choice to be a paramedic. However, you will need to live as stress-free as possible in your private life to balance the stress of your career. You need to be good to yourself to put yourself first. Your parents lost the moral high ground when they put your sister above the fortunes of the family and broke the law. They're not positive people anymore. I'm sorry, OP. It's hard, but be strong. So, a long time ago, I, 20 female, bought 4 tickets to the Taylor Swift concert in our city this past weekend. It was going to be me, Marissa, Haley, and Aiden. We are all besties from high school. Everyone paid me for the tickets and planned accordingly. We planned on getting there early to hang out for a bit. Everyone knew this plan for a long time, but for some reason, Marissa couldn't or didn't get off work. She's a server at a breakfast restaurant, and normally doesn't work too late. This was all on a Saturday, by the way. I also have an older sister who lives in this city and wanted to go but couldn't. She begged me to be a backup in case anything happened. We don't live very close to the city, like an hour's drive, sometimes longer, so we planned on leaving at 2 p.m. At around 1, I started texting everyone to get ready because I had to start picking people up. Marissa told us she could get off at around 12, but didn't say anything when I texted the group. I texted her individually and called her. No response. I started picking up everyone. She was the last person to get it. I kept calling, and we waited outside of her house for a bit. So I said, screw it, and I went to the door. Someone answered and said Marissa hadn't come home yet. Together, we decided to leave without her. We got 20 minutes into the drive when all our phones started blowing up. It was Marissa, apologizing and saying there were issues at work and she had to stay, but she was speeding home and will be ready in 15 minutes. It was like 2:30 at this point. Aiden called her and explained what had happened, and I could hear her screaming her head off at him. He eventually hung up on her. My sister met us there and Venmo'd the money to Marissa in the exact amount she had paid me. We had a blast. I'm asking if I was an idiot because we've not heard from Marissa since, even after apologizing. Wow, you are the idiot, and I would never want to be friends with you or your group. She paid for her ticket. You couldn't have transferred her ticket to her? Most tickets are e-tickets nowadays anyway. And said, hey, sorry we left, but here's your ticket. Meet us there? That's such a crappy thing to do, especially for a Taylor Swift show when you know the tickets are impossible to find, and it'll probably be a couple of years before she tours again. I don't blame Marissa for cutting you all off completely. I hope Marissa sues her. The concert started at 8 p.m. 8 p.m., people. I was rationalizing in my head, but even if it started at 5 p.m., there was still time for her to wait for at least an hour. Personally, I would have waited until we had to leave, or else we'd be late. OP, you killed a friendship for 30 minutes. You still arrived a few hours early for the show. You wanted your sister to go instead of your friend. Shame on you. Yep, you gave her ticket away at 2 p.m., the time you were supposed to collect her. There was no wait time. You gave her ticket away when she had yet to be 10 minutes late, when you knew you were going to arrive 4 hours before the doors even opened. It wasn't yours to sell, and then you sold it for the face price? If Marissa couldn't go, it was her right to sell it at the best possible price. You scammed her out of hundreds of dollars. So yes, you stole her property and scammed her. You are the idiot. You haven't lost your friendship. You sold it out. You willingly trashed it. My boyfriend has a good job and has no problem spending money on stuff that matters to him. Other stuff, not so much. I have my own place, and we alternate where we spend the night when we see each other. He has a crappy mattress. It has one spring that has snapped me in the back of the legs a few times. I told him he needed to replace it because it was busted. He kept saying that he would, but he never did. I was in the shower yesterday, and I heard him scream. I rinsed off and went to see if he was okay. The spring caught him in the nuts. I couldn't help it. I giggled. It was sort of funny. He thinks I'm an idiot for laughing at his suffering. I told him he didn't care as much when it was my legs getting it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And I laughed out loud. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I can't imagine being upset with my girlfriend in this scenario. We'd both be laughing about it until the morning. She'd bring that crap up 3 months later out of nowhere too. What a matter, babe? Spring got you again? And if he can't handle you giggling at the situation, just saying, was he momentarily annoyed or actually butthurt about you thinking it was funny? These could be signs. Ouch, this towel pinched me. Ouch, it did it again. Sounds like a you problem, but sure, I'll totally replace that towel. Oh no, I never took you seriously, and now the thing that has happened to you has finally happened to me. If only I had been forewarned. Maybe if I had listened, I would have at least been smart enough not to put my nuts in a known snapping location. Curse everyone but me. Getting snapped on a mattress known to snap was completely unavoidable. Wow, he had that coming. Should have listened to you. Maybe now he'll replace the mattress. Unpopular opinion, but you are the idiot. I think the LOL, this guy got hit type of humor is obviously childish, but also misogynistic. In fact, if this story was written with the genders reversed, most people would say that the man would be in the wrong and should be concerned about his girlfriend's injury rather than posting about it here. A man being hurt is a joke, but if it were a woman, people would be far more critical. I guarantee it. I, male 30, took my wife, 28, out for breakfast at one of her favorite restaurants to celebrate Mother's Day. We were having a great time together, and the check arrived, and I gave the waiter my card, but he came back and said that there was some problem with my chip and that it wasn't scanning. This confused me since I had used the same card to buy flowers this morning. I asked the waiter if they accept cash, but he said no. I started to notice my wife looking pretty angry. I told her to give the waiter her credit card, and since our tab was just under $48 and I happened to have a $50 bill on me, I gave her that money. She did so but acted very cold toward me afterward. I asked her what was wrong when we were in the car driving back home, and she told me I was a major idiot for making her pay for our meal on Mother's Day. I told her that I didn't make her pay since I literally gave her $50 right after my card didn't work. She told me to stop playing word games, and the fact of the matter was that I embarrassed her and made her feel uncared for. I don't know what else I should do in that situation. How was I supposed to anticipate my credit card not working? To clarify, I have the money in my account, so that wasn't the issue. I'm going to my bank later today to see what was wrong with my card. Am I the idiot? Edit. We have a joint household account where we each contribute some of our paychecks, and the rest we keep independently. I paid with my separate money. Didn't mention I had dropped our kid off at Grandpa's in the morning. Not the idiot. My husband took me to breakfast this morning with our kids, but left his wallet at home in the bustle of getting our kids out the door, and the sippy cup. He used my card and then transferred me the money. This is ridiculous of her to be upset about. Making something out of nothing. She sounds hard to be married to. I'm guessing she's probably irked about something else and decided to use this as her end to be angry. I can't fathom why anyone would be mad about this. There's gotta be something else she couldn't muster the courage to say what's upsetting her, and she's running with this. It's because she knows he's right, but since she still feels unhappy, she needs a place to aim her anger and dismisses his very legit point. She can't say why this explanation doesn't resolve the issue for her, because she wants OP to act as if those feelings are valid by saying he hurt her intentionally and asking her for forgiveness. Understandably, OP won't give her that, because it's really not fair at all. So instead, he's using his words that she doesn't want to hear. I'm a woman and I remember my getting upset about crap like this when I was young. I'm older now and have learned to shut up for at least 15 minutes before taking any anger I feel seriously. It takes practice, but so does any exercise in self-control. OP's wife will become more self-aware and reasonable as she gets older. LOL or not. Poor guy. She's 28. There's no hope for her. It's a quite common behavior among teenagers. A human brain develops until approximately 25, if I remember correctly. But at 28, I don't see much chance that she realizes she's an issue here and learns how to deal with emotions.